What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome to episode 53 of the Worldwide Knicks podcast. Omar here alongside Alex and Rafa, coming at you guys right after the crushing defeat that the Knicks faced at home against the Toronto Raptors on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So, guys, how we doing? And more importantly, how we feeling after that game?
Exhausted. um, but yeah, it was a tough one to take that. Yeah. So it's tough going straight onto the pod as well, just to try and
Yeah,
process it all
yeah.
and
I was thinking that as well.
get
I was like,
myself ready.
man, it's what we hate about other type of content creators, right? Where they just come in after a game, coming in hot, super emotional,
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's
wait,
not the worst game. It's a tough loss, but it wasn't
yeah,
the worst loss we've seen this past month. So
true.
it's or this season even. So
Heat and
it's
Pacers
okay to
both
talk
lost as
about
well.
this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
it
you
was
go.
it's a tough overtime loss, but I always feel like those you could kind of stomach a little bit better over like a 40-point drubbing or something like that, where you just like feel hopeless for like 2, 3 hours. But let's just jump right in, guys. 5 games that were this week. The team ends up going 3-2 with losses today to Toronto and earlier in the week to Milwaukee. Wins against Washington, Indiana, and Detroit. So, pretty solid week. A winning week for the team. So hopefully more of that to come. Team currently standing at 6th place in the Eastern Conference standings, a couple games behind. I think Philly is in the 5 spot right now, or Cleveland. One of
Cavs.
those is the Cavs. Yeah, so
No,
I know
they're
those two
tied.
teams.
Sorry, they're
Yeah,
tied.
they've been flip
It's a
flopping for
big
that 5 spot. So, in a
it's a
really
big
good shape.
mess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much talent right now in the East too, especially at the top. Those 5 teams are going to kind of be duking it out for position from now until the end of the year. But let's just jump right in with a topic that I usually go to Alex first. I'm gonna end up going to Rafa first on this one because this was kind of his topic. So, if you watch this team, you have probably fallen victim to being angry about the fact that the opponent is always getting an open 3-point shot. And for a while, we kind of explained that away as, oh, that's just, the defense that Tibbs likes to play, leave a guy open for a shot and, hopefully he's a low percentage shooter and he'll miss. So, but there have been moments where, those type of open looks have cost us in games and, shooters just coming through, getting hot at the right moment, getting those open looks from the corners. So, Rafa, starting with you, do you really think this is a really concerning thing long term for the team?
Might see it as a concerning thing because if we don't through the game, because that's what happens. Teams start out really cold. Our defense looks amazing. No 3-point shots are going down. We're playing interior defense, great interior defense, and we get the big leads. That's
Mhm.
what's been happening. We get the big leads because we're playing good defense, and the 3-point shot just isn't falling. Then the 3-point shots start to fall, and it seems like we don't adjust. It's like no, let them shoot. They will eventually miss again. So it kind of seems like it. We prey on the closeouts, and well, if you look at the first half of the game, basically, uh, RJ can still close out. Grimes can close out. Quickly is running to close out. Brunson, even Randle, they're all well, they have more gas to run to the 3-point line. And if you have trying to, even if you're wide open, you're trying to shoot a three, you have a guy running at you. Well, he's gonna try. You're gonna look at him, even if you're a professional, you're trained. He might still affect your shot.
Mhm.
So if you were quick about it, okay, you're right on top of the guy. The shot is it's not that wide open. But late in the games, when the legs are tired from all of our physical defense, because that's the thing, we play very physical defense. We
Right.
are very aware on defense the first minutes of the game, the first quarters. Late situations, we just seemed way too tired, just like we seemed against this when again in this game against the Raptors.
Mhm.
Um, We just look way too tired. We can't play the defense the same way. We can't be as physical, and that on
So
offense,
let me ask you this, Rafa. Do you think
yeah,
the tired legs late in the game is that a function of the 9-man rotation? You know, where, you know, we saw like RJ before we went to OT today, he was at 44 minutes, right? You know, so
yeah.
do you think that that has something to do with it, or is it just a matter of not being able to maintain that level of intensity, that level of defense for a full 48 minutes as a team?
I think it all helps.
Mhm.
It all amounts to this an issue. Like
Right.
if you have a shortened rotation and you play such a physical style,
Mhm.
well, I think it's a obviously the 9-man rotation had been working. We've been playing well, and we haven't had a bad loss like losing by 20 or 15 points even or a 10. I don't remember. Recently, it's all close games. We're always fighting for it. So it's the 9-man rotation in that sense is working because we're playing better as a team. That 9-man
Right.
rotation is playing well. Well, eight Artenstein. Well, the 9-man rotation is working.
Right.
But then it's the problem that we such a physical style, so running around, and we're such ferocious defenders that we reach the fourth quarters way too tired, I think, to maintain that level of defense. And if we're not playing that level of defense, or if not five players out there playing that level of defense,
Mhm.
it shows. It really shows. We have to play team defense because we don't have still an elite defender like you can guard all five positions. We still don't have that. As much as I like
I
Grimes
mean, they
playing
don't grow on
defense,
trees, Rafa. You know, like that's yeah.
exactly. Well, we don't have that, so that we
Right.
have this defensive style, a team defense. Sounds well. Every team plays defense, but you know what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
it hurts us. It ends up hurting us in the fourth quarter on defense and on offense. I don't know if getting another man out there would help, but maybe playing him, and I'm not believing I'm going to say this, but playing Obi Toppin a few more minutes, Deuce McBride a few more minutes, just to let, not because he deserves the minutes, not getting into that conversation, but maybe Randle playing a top 35 instead of playing 45 or 42 like with OTs or something. Maybe those few minutes can make a
I
difference.
mean, you heard Breen talk about it on the broadcast today, you know, where it's a 9-man rotation and that ninth man doesn't get a ton of burn, you know, gets like 6, 7, 8 minutes. So it's really almost an 8-man rotation, really, if you think about it. Alex, let me toss it over to you. What are you making of this 3-point defense issue, non-issue? What's your read on that?
It's a hard one because it's worked well for us in the past. It's a it's a system that a lot of teams run, but it's hard to in the modern NBA to have a weak shooter on the perimeter. So that's the problem with it. Um, it's it's one of those things that sometimes it seems to go for you and everything seems rosy, but um, it's so hard because if you just sent everybody out to the perimeter, guarding the perimeter, then obviously the paint's wide open, and there's so many skillful big men these days that can just dominate the paint if you do it like that. So it's a tough one. Some when it go say when players are missing wide open threes, you'll get the credit for having good defense, because sometimes everybody looks at the stats and the opponent 3-point percentage is low, and then sometimes some team will come along and just hitting absolutely everything, and it's I understand why he does it, and everything's about rim protection with Tibbs, but he's not the only coach that does it like that. I was watching the Nets actually recently, and the amount of wide open threes they gave up was just amazing. It was like players just walking around, and not even making an effort to get out to the perimeter, just hoping that players would miss. And I think it's just something that we kind of, when we've had a tough loss, you're looking for something to blame, and it's the easiest thing to do. But yeah, if you start chasing out to the perimeter and everybody out in the perimeter, then you're leaving Mitch in an island, and yeah, you've just got to pick your poison a wee bit sometimes. So
Yeah, and
you
that's
know,
something that Washington in their when we played them earlier in the week, Kyle Kuzma, their coach Wes Unseld Jr., and I think Corey Kispert were also saying about how, the whole thing with the Knicks is they're going to drive you in to suck you into the paint, collapse on you in the paint, and that's going to leave open some shooters. So it does feel like you guys both have said, that it's schematically by design. And just looking at the numbers, you're seeing that the Knicks are allowing, 34% from three, which is fifth best in the league. But they're also third in the league in the amount of threes that their opponents are putting up. So they're shooting a lot, and the Knicks are also 25th in the league with opponent makes, so 15, so 13 out of 37 per game. And, it's a 3-point shooting league. We all know that, it's all at the basket or at the three. Very few players outside of like Kevin Durant and Julius Randle, really, to a certain extent, are really shooting in the mid range like that. But by and large, it's all about that 3-point shot. And, it seems to be a schematic thing. And it seems to be something that I think the team and the coach have just really bought into, is saying, okay, this is our scheme. And it's incredibly frustrating, right? It's like, I'll use an American football analogy where there's a type of defense called cover two, and it's a safe zone defense, and you're going to allow a lot of yards against you. But the idea is, like, once they get close to scoring, that's when you hold them down, right? That's almost what this feels like. That you're going to allow those shots in high volume, and if you happen to catch a hot shooter on a night, then so be it. That's a loss in the win-loss column for you. But by and large, they feel pretty confident in having to make the opponent kind of swing it around and take a shot by maybe shooters who aren't the primary option, like making Precious Achiuwa shoot a three, for example, since we just played Toronto. That seems to be the idea. And I think, they do need to contest a little bit better on the second and third pass, but I think some of this, guys, is just the fact that that's today's NBA, right? This is the way the game is played. It's a spacing game. It's a 4-out, sometimes 5-out game, and the Knicks are kind of emphasizing the paint, and when all of these other teams are really focusing on shooting. And who are we to say that it's not working? The team is, 4 games above 500, 4 or 5 games above 500, in position for the playoffs. So, the numbers look good. And the cool thing about it for us, though, is whenever we lose a game, we always will end up with those advanced analytics saying that we should have won the game. So that's always like a silver lining to any loss that we have.
say
But
I'd say Grimes and IQ have certainly in the past few weeks have helped a lot, the perimeter defense. So you can see that they're getting out sharper than pre-Christmas sort of form, and Grimes especially is great at kind of tracking down shooters, but kind of making it difficult. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. Even if he's great, he's he gets tired. Even if he's young, he will still get tired because the other guys aren't closing out. So it's the issue because we're having great leads. We stop defending as well. Call it like this because we stop defending as well because obviously it's still even if the teams shoot a lot of 3-pointers, it's still the most the least efficient shot. Like it's 30% against 80 or 90% from inside. So obviously, 3-point shot is the one to give. But what always happens, and then it looks like 3-point defense. We get so anxious to get those 3-pointers back, or to because if you have a 18-point lead, okay, they're making threes. Well, but if you're making your shots, even if they're twos, the lead is still jumping from 19 to 16. It's only 18. And it's
there's something to that, right?
slower.
There's something to that, them getting a little anxious about shit. This guy's making a bunch of threes now. We got to hit threes, and you're seeing sidestep Julius threes, or RJ or Brunson forcing a three type of thing. And the interesting thing will be is if we're at the 6th seed and say we catch a team like Brooklyn in the playoffs, that becomes a test because they're starting to, their players are starting to hit shots. Watanabe is making shots. Obviously, KD and Kyrie can hit a three from anywhere. So that becomes concerning in the playoffs, and it kind of makes you wonder: will there be a slight tweak to that you want to maybe get up on shooters a little bit better than they are in the regular season? But you guys mentioned Emmanuel quickly, which segues perfectly into our next topic, which ties into the bench, and not in a good way. Remember like a couple years ago, bench was great. Bench is better than the starters, right? But not so much
Best bench in
anymore.
the league.
Best bench in the league, Big 15, the whole thing. Not so much anymore, man.
Big
Like,
nine.
right now, the Knicks are bottom 4 in the league in bench scoring, averaging only 29 points per game. So not great. And really the only one who's really producing for them is Emmanuel Quickly, who's scoring almost half of those points himself. So we haven't seen much from Obi or since he got back. Hartenstein has offensively just been anemic. And Deuce has just not been able to find his offensive game either. So how concerned are you guys about this the bench, and what do we need to do in terms of thinking about acquisitions to kind of fix this?
Yeah, it's a huge concern. I mean, when you're seeing, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with some of the minutes that are going out, but not on this kind of consistent basis. They need more help, and I think these kind of 40-minute, 42 minutes and things that are coming out are just being driven by the fact that Tibbs is looking around at his bench and just like, these guys are giving me nothing. I've got to keep these guys out there. That's my best chance of winning, as he always says. He puts in the guys that he thinks have the best chance of winning, and if these guys are producing nothing, then what's he to do? I mean, Hartenstein's been a bit all over the place all season. Sometimes you're like, there's a player there, but he certainly does. He certainly isn't as advertised. He's supposed to be this amazing passer out of the post. He's supposed to be a 3-point threat. I was so looking to see him as a real alternative to Mitch. Somebody that came in and could just change the game and adapt the style. I'm not seeing any of it, other than the fact that he's all over the floor and chasing down things, and he's just a bit kind of erratic. He's a bit all over the place. You just never really see what you're going to get with him. But McBride, yeah, McBride's
every game you see Hartenstein just going like this to the refs. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? It's a classic now.
I'm sorry, McBride's slightly better than a G League player. I don't think he's hugely improved from where he was last season or so.
Would we be better off playing Fournier instead of McBride? Do you guys think?
Yeah. Certainly, while he's here, we might as well use his talent. I mean, we're struggling from three. We just need to find a way of him coming in with a defensive lineup that can kind of hide the fact of how poor he is himself from defensively. So I just, when he first got moved to the bench, it just looked so awkward and so just didn't fit at all. I don't think they've got that bench unit quite right. But we've been mixing and matching a few players here and there with the bench unit, like RJ, trying to get them going. So maybe we just need to do a bit more kind of experimenting with Fournier coming off the bench. But McBride's giving nothing at the moment. I mean, I know he's coming in and giving us defensive effort, but that's not sustainable at an NBA level.
It reminds you of someone, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming you mean the Prince, but yeah.
Of course.
Just desperate to see guys like that do well. That great effort, great defense, which every New York fan loves. But yeah, there's got to be something at the other end as well, unless you're seriously elite at the defense. But then there's a role for you. And Toppin just doesn't look quite right since he came back from his injury. I don't know if there's something lingering there, but yeah, it's something. I mean, you're always concerned when it's a knee injury. I didn't really understand the um the whole thing about, why is RJ, going straight back up to 30, 40 minutes, and Obi's, getting brought along. Well, you're like, well, look at the different types of injury. I mean, it's a finger injury against a knee injury. You've got to be careful with knee injuries. Injuries.
Especially Obi's a bigger guy. Bigger
Yep.
guys have worse knee injuries historically. So
Yeah. So
Playing
yeah,
it
I didn't
safe
get
as
that one
well.
at all. But yeah, they need to do something to get them going. At the end of the day, we're all hoping that we can get into the playoffs in some way. But as long as it's sorted by then, because we really need something coming off the bench if we're going to be going into the playoffs. So.
Our bench, continuing with Obi Toppin, and he's an injury, a knee injury. What do we know Obi Toppin for? Flying around, running the floor. I mean, if he hurt his knee, one of the greatest or the biggest problems about returning from an injury, especially a knee one or something, it's not about healing the knee or the foot or whatever it is. It's the mentally you getting well trusting the knee that it's not gonna
that's
you're
true.
not overprotecting it, and it's I mean it's the NBA, and an knee injury is out for 1 month, and he returns watching soccer. He goes. Players go out for like 2 months with the type of injury like that because they're regaining that confidence on the knee because it's still it's physical game. It's man against man. They're just colliding and bumping,
Right.
and as you mentioned, Omar, big man fighting for rebounds, just pushing it and shoving. It takes time. And so if they're playing it safe with Obi and Obi returns to his form, I mean, I'm not expecting Obi to drop 20 points off the bench. But well, anything is better than zero. So yeah, but the bench with that 9-man rotation, we don't normally see them alone. There's a second unit. There's always someone from the starting unit with them.
Mhm.
Is it Brunson or RJ? It has been RJ again coming from back from the injury. It doesn't look amazing. RJ still there might be some rust there after all after that first game where there was no rust, but maybe some rust. And the unit is Obi is getting back, RJ is getting back as well, and so well, this maybe sums up why they're playing 40 minutes again. Brunson and Randle, because the second unit is not trustworthy right now. Hartenstein is. I disagree with Alex. He impacts the game for the other team. But he does impact the game. He's been dude that Attenstein has been all over the place. He tries. Just like Evan Fournier. Well, they try. Giving that Deuce McBride's offense, his shot is not falling for anything in the world, and his defense is. I feel like it hasn't been as great as it was at the beginning, so maybe those minutes got reduced because of it. So
Mhm.
maybe he's not in a great place. His shot not falling maybe cost him a little bit of confidence. And well, it's quickly is the sixth man of this team.
Yeah.
He we actually it actually happened. Derrick Rose mentored him into his own roster spot. Sixth man of the team. He should be considered have a vote or two for sixth man of the year, to be honest. Emmanuel quickly right
That
now.
feels like Russell
Um,
Westbrook's award to lose this year, guys. But they're putting up numbers as a sixth man. I mean,
yeah,
think what you want about the
the
Lakers.
numbers. Well, if you don't look at turnovers or shot selection, the numbers are good for Westbrook. They
That's
always
sixth
have
man.
been.
I feel like
Or
it's a
wins,
scoring
Rafa.
stat, right? It's a scoring award, really. You know,
Yeah,
but
basically.
Sorry, you mentioned Rose there. I mean, he was obviously a huge part of that bench 2 years ago. Um, turned the season round. So, him being missing, poor form, whatever's going on with him since the start of the season, it's not helped that bench unit just kind of come together as a kind of whole thing.
Let's not forget that a big part of that bench unit last year isn't the starting lineup this year. It's Quentin Grimes.
yeah,
Grimes and Quickly and Obi, they were working pretty well together. And Grimes is no longer there. And second unit had Fournier, had Cam, had Fournier again. Now they're out again. So they don't seem to have a fit. The first unit is working well. Second unit needs a little bit of help right now.
Here's the thing with the bench, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's real bad. Okay. And the only positive is Emmanuel Quickly. He's really, I think we were talking about this the other day in the group chat. He has a different demeanor about him. He's just more serious, more business-like in his approach. And, he's been scoring a bunch of points and he's been playing side by side with Brunson incredibly well, when Brunson is running with the second unit there and when Quickly additionally is running with the starters. And that's where the positives end is Emmanuel Quickly. Isaiah Hartenstein looks lost. Like we were all, I feel like, relatively positive at the very least about his signing. Like, oh, he got a stretch five, passing big man, could fill in the four if needed. That kind of stuff is what we were talking about. And we were saying, yeah, this isn't just another lesser version of Mitch, like Nerlens Noel was, like Jericho Sims is, right? It's a different type of big man. We were all super positive about it. This guy looks fucking lost. He doesn't know what he's doing on the floor half the time. Even when he scores, it seems fluky and surprising. And that's what's killing me about it. Then you have Deuce, who can't hit a shot. The defensive intensity, yeah, that's great. And like you mentioned, Alex, good point. Shades of Frank Ntilikina, the heir apparent to the French Prince, right? And it's been bad to watch, and it's just been ugly. Obi has been relegated to corner threes only. Even the fast break dunking isn't there anymore, right? Like we had one today. Like when was the last time we saw that? Like realistically, how often have we really seen those outlet passes? Because teams are guarding against that now, because they know that's the primary thing of his game. So when you take all that into account, this team desperately needs some sort of microwave scorer off the bench to kind of make sure that these guys don't get fatigued. You can't have Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett playing 40 plus minutes nightly every single night. It's just not sustainable, if you're thinking into the future, especially you just made an investment in Jalen and RJ. So you kind of need somebody. I know there's been a rumor about Eric Gordon from the Rockets. I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's a guy who gets buckets. Yeah, he's 34, but he'd be coming off the bench. I don't know what the cost would be. There's Terrence Ross rumors always out there. That's who this team needs to go after at the deadline, right? Like everybody's talking about, oh, we got to get OG Anunoby or somebody who's going to get into the starting unit. Like, no, we need a guy on the wing who could score and create his own shot a little bit. And that's where I think Eric Gordon makes sense. He has some shot creation still left in the tank. And I know Knicks fans, he's way above the age limit, so that's a little concerning, right? But I don't know. I think they need to make a move. What do you guys think? Do you guys think they should who do you think they should target if they're going to get some bench help for this playoff push?
Yeah, I mean, if it's along the same kind of lines as that Derrick Rose deal, it just gives the whole roster kind of a lift, kind of going into the second half of the season. So that kind of injection of somebody experienced, a scorer, but somebody that can kind of hold their own defensively as well. I was just trying to look up there what Gordon's got left in his deal, because I know that contract seemed as one of the worst in the league when he signed it. Obviously, it must be expiring fairly soon.
It's this year or next year still. I think it was a long
contract.
He's
still got another year. Yeah, so that's
a thing with him.
That's something that would put me off, to be honest. If he was maybe expiring this year, then yeah, it's a big hit. That's the 20 million he's on. So
I mean, you're paying Evan Fournier that money to sit on the bench right now. So,
but yeah, I mean, how much better is he than Fournier? What does he give you other than Fournier? maybe a bit more help at the point guard position.
Right.
As somebody. I mean, I know he's not a true point guard, but he who is these days, of course. But yeah, he can at least fill in there a little bit better playmaking wise.
Yeah, like my preference is probably somebody like Terrence Ross, a wing guy. You don't really want a small because we have enough guards, right? You still got Quickly, you still got McBride there. You still got Derrick Rose if you absolutely need him, and so a guy who could play the three a little bit is probably what you want, but a guy who could score. And that's what they need to be looking after. I know there's been rumors about Caruso. I don't know. Again, that poses the same problem. You have another small guard who can't really score, and you want a scorer if you're getting some guy to come in and produce off the bench. Rafa, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, with Omar. We need a guy that, first of all, Knicks fans don't like it, but I think a vet suits more of the position or the role we want to fill in.
Yep.
Because, well, young guys, if they're great scorers, they will want to reach higher. Just look at Miami with Tyler Hero. Hero was a perfect fit from coming off the bench. Now they're behind the Knicks. I don't know if that's the reason, but I'm just saying that the younger guys will want to go higher. They want to start or something, or
Different point in their
that
careers,
order.
right? Like
Exactly,
they know the role, and that's it.
Yeah, it's what I was like, a guy, an older guy that knows. Okay, this is what we want us to do. What we want you to do. Just come off the bench, play defense, help out, of course, the guy who can stand his own on defense, and who can help Quickly, because we know Quickly is a great. He's been playing great, but he's still a bit streaky
Real
sometimes with the
quick,
shooting.
guys. Real quick, not to derail you
Yeah,
and kind of almost
yeah.
create a separate topic so we can make kind of quick. Obviously, a lot of buzz about Quickly now, about a lot of teams being interested. Are you answering the phone if you're Leon about trades for Quickly right now?
Definitely answering the phone. I mean, he's playing so well at the moment, but I mean, I don't think. I know we keep talking about this kind of untouchable thing, with like Grimes and
Yeah, I guess not untouchable. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, you've got to pick up the phone, especially depending who it is. I was going to ask you actually, Omar, about what the word on the street in Detroit is about that Bogdanovic, whether
they
Pistons are
like him
going
here.
in.
They like
Yeah,
him here. But I think he's going to get moved. There's way too much smoke about contenders wanting to add it because he's the type of guy. If you're like right there, he's going to be that type of guy who could potentially take you over the top as like a primary scorer off the bench or like a fourth option type, shooter. I would say Milwaukee, but they got Joe Ingles, basically same thing, same role, right? But I could see like a team out west, maybe taking a look and like wouldn't imagine him on Memphis, for example, as a like a bench leader for them, being able to knock down some threes when Bane is off the court. That's it's an interesting proposition, and the Pistons are made it very obvious they're all in on Wembanyama right now. So, no sense in him wasting whatever prime he has left in Detroit. So, yeah, I think he's gone at the deadline for sure.
Yeah, that was the reason I asked was if they're going fully tanking and things that
Yeah, I mean you look at the lineup
yeah.
yesterday, man.
They
Like
have a chance.
the players that they were trotting out there. I mean, Kevin Knox was getting rotation minutes. Important. Like he was in the first quarter. Once Cade went down, it was all in on the tank, right? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And they're probably looking at it like, hey, if we could get Victor Wembanyama, then maybe we shed Marvin Bagley and we shed Isaiah Stewart, and we build around this core of Cade, Ivy, and Wembanyama, which is terrifying. If Victor ends up panning out the way everybody thinks he's going to pan out, I mean, they're making it seem like, he's like Kevin Durant plus 5 inches. So, we'll see.
Kevin
We'll see
Durant meets Giannis, right? It's Kevin Durant meets Giannis. People
Yeah, I
say.
will say one thing though. His shooting numbers have been kind of overstated. Everybody always says, "Oh yeah, he could shoot from anywhere." Like just this year, he crossed 30% shooting from three in Europe. So, we'll see how he develops once he gets into the league. I'm always a little concerned about guys that tall, right? Like 7'4", 7'5", those type of dudes. I always worry about durability.
He
There's a
came up
thing.
against one the other day.
Oh,
He's another one
yeah.
that's been linked, of course.
Porzingis,
but-
yeah.
yeah.
My
Is
God.
it
thank
all-
you.
is it-
Every
is-
time
is
I
it
see those
grovel-
trades, man.
His groveling apology, and please take me back.
Yeah.
Every time I see those trades on Twitter,
they
man.
forget. Yeah, funny how they forget, what how good they have it with the fans in the garden and the atmosphere as being a Knick. It's not the same when you're in the Capital One Center, I'll tell you that much. But let's move on, guys, to probably a topic that's near and dear to mine and Rafa's heart, especially. Some rumblings going on right now that despite winning a bunch of games and everything, that Julius Randle and RJ Barrett are kind of a bad fit for one another. That the play styles don't mesh. Julius was playing his best ball when RJ was out with his finger injury, and that when Julius is off the court, RJ seems to play better basketball. That seems to be the narrative that's brewing, because we can't ever be happy that the team's above 500. We have to find some sort of issue. So again, Rafa, let me start with you first. Again, the president of the RJ Barrett fan club. So you as an RJ fan, especially, do you think that him in the same lineup with Julius is hurting his output and his development?
I've said this on the pod. I had thought that before, seeing that obviously a team completely full 100% in on just play through RJ Barrett would be different for his growth or his growing pains and everything. But especially after the end of last year and this year as well, um, they're not playing bad basketball together.
Mhm.
They're winning together. The win streak was when they were both playing their best basketball. The 8-game winning streak was they were both on the floor. The best game, the best games of their when they got up, the team rolled. I mean, probably isn't the greatest fit ever, man. But if you look at it, neither is Brunson, because Brunson is not your 40% or 45% 3-point shooter. He
Mhm.
also attacks the paint a lot. So RJ attacks the paint, Brunson attacks the paint. Randle is more of an inside guy, and so the fit isn't 100% perfect right there. So with none of those players, but I don't think now that the growth is being stunned because of Julius Randle, because we look the game when RJ came back, Randle took what 11 shots that game or 12, and Brunson and RJ took all the shots.
Yep.
So it has been.
It's almost like a
We
take
talked about this as
turns
well.
dynamic, right? Like they're all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on to it right now. All right, next couple possessions, maybe you do it now. Between the three of them, Brunson, Randall, and Barrett.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you have it going? Just keep shooting, man.
Yeah.
I'm shit. Don't pass me the ball. I will give it to you. It happens. It's
Mhm.
been happening. So they've RJ had a 40-point game. Brunson had a 40-point game. Randall had a 40-point game. So
Yep.
and when RJ scored, Randall was on the floor. The Brunson had them as well. Randall, I think RJ was on. I don't remember if RJ was on the floor as well or not. Probably not. But I mean, RJ, when Randall is doing his thing, RJ is in the corner waiting for the 3-point shot as well, like Quickly is or was or Grimes. So it's. I mean, not every player can have the ball 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I've accepted it, and I saw growth not only from RJ but from Randall as well. So I think I'm happy. We're in the
Like
playoffs right
here's
now.
my counter to people who say, all right, well, we want this X player, whether whoever you like more between the two, or if you're more of a Brunson guy, that you want them initiating every single time. As great as Luka Doncic is, and as great as Harden was in Houston, you know how miserable watching those teams are? You ever watched the Mavs on League Pass? Like you're just watching Luka dribble a bunch before he like swings it out to Wood or swings it out to Hardaway for a three if he does. And like we got three guys who could attack the paint at any point in time. And and where it's kind of like you're playing off the hot hand. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, when RJ first came in the league, and there was a lot of noise about whether they got on personally. The body language between the two of them never seemed great.
Good old body language police.
Yeah, oh no,
Oh my God.
I can't believe I said that. It's up there with culture for me. Yeah,
There's
sorry.
two forbidden words now.
Yeah,
For 2023, it's a new change. You can't talk about body
yeah.
language or team culture on this podcast.
You need to have like almost like a button that you can press that kind of electrocute me and Rafa every time we say something like that.
Or an eject seat for any guest that talks about it. Just press the button. There they go.
Yeah,
Just boot them out.
Check but they're kind of I wouldn't say they were a bad fit. I wouldn't say they were a great fit. They're just kind of slightly awkward. But as you say, I mean, there's a huge sample size now, obviously, with them playing together that they can be successful. And we've talked a lot about how Randle's adjusted his style of play, especially this season, I think, with Brunson there. I think it's just something that needs a little bit more work, to be consistent. I don't think it's anything hugely to worry about, but I think their styles of play can work with Randle being such a good passer. And yeah, I think it's more about trying to tie all three of them together with Brunson as well. And just get them working. They don't have to all be involved in the one play. Yeah, they can take a play off and concentrate on the defensive side more. I think it's just it's a bit of a work in progress, especially when Brunson coming in, who's taken quite a lot of the usage away. That it's just going to take time to kind of get them all gelled together.
Here's my takeaway.
Before you go, Omar, before you go and show But by the way, your Julius Randle Island is getting a little bit crowded right now.
Let us not forget who was here the whole time. Okay. Let us not
before
forget.
You go, that talk about how Julius Randle and RJ Barrett just don't see eye to eye, they don't like each other. Look at the games and see who is the first player to hype up or Randle or RJ after a big play, or just giving him the first stab or that come on or screaming in their face. It's either for Randle RJ, for RJ Randle. It's always like that. After a big dunk, there's always a Randle or RJ going up to them. It's followed with Brunson. So I think those three guys really are connecting pretty well. So stop with the nonsense that they don't see eye to eye. Omar, just the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, guys. We have these three guys who have a very decent chance of ending the year, each one of them averaging over 20 points per game. So it's not a situation where, we're like a Miami Big Three situation where Chris Bosh was really iced out kind of by Wade and LeBron. We have a situation where it seems to be an equal division of labor for the most part, like when RJ's getting his chances to create and get inside. We saw that today. He got quite a few drives up to the basket. Julius getting his chance to either drive in or, take a midi or a step back three. Brunson lives in the paint, and gets down there whenever he wants. So I think the idea with the team is we're going to have these three guys who are just going to attack whenever they have the ball. And the hope is they're going to wear you down because of how much they're going to outmaneuver you and how physical they can be with you in getting into the paint and being a threat from the outside, which all three of them have shown this year to be able to hit those shots. I look at this more as just like a narrative building thing, right? People decided they didn't like Julius, or people are out on RJ, so they kind of are pitting them against one another because they want one of the guys out because they're tired of watching them, right? And from the Julius perspective, you're still mad that he's not who you wish he was. And from RJ, you're mad that he's not Zion or Ja, and to me, I think they work fine together. Not every good pairing in the NBA is going to be a seamless fit. like an example that comes to mind for me is the Blazers when McCollum was there. Like McCollum is a natural. He's a scoring point guard naturally when he was coming out of college, out of where did he go to school? Lehigh, and Lillard is the same way. So how do you pair those two guys to score first point guards? Well, they figured it out. They took turns, and that team got to a Western Conference final once. So I don't think it's the end of the world that maybe it's not a perfect puzzle piece fit between these two, but it's enough of a fit. They don't have a Gobert Donovan Mitchell situation going on where they hate each other. It doesn't seem that way. So I think that it's much ado about nothing, to be honest with you. And we're talking about, again, what a luxury that we have three guys who could score 30 plus on any given night. Like, why is that a bad thing? I guess is my question here. Is like, would you have preferred if instead of RJ, we had like some spot up shooter only, like we have Reggie Bullock or something? Like, would you prefer that? We saw what the offense looks like without RJ. It's Jalen and Julius popping up 30 shots a game. And that's not great. So it's kind of like I don't think it's a bad thing to be able to play the hot hand. And again, when you have a team that doesn't have superstar talent, but you have three pretty good players, that's the way you do it. That's how you score your points. That's how you win your games, is by those guys performing. And we've seen that this year. The three of them are the team goes as far as those three guys go, right? When they all play well, generally they win the game. We would have to look that up of what the win-loss record is when they combine for a certain amount of points or not. But I would imagine it's pretty high because, again, once they get everything going, it kind of trickles down. Grimes starts hitting shots, quickly starts hitting the floater. Hartenstein stops being an idiot for half a second before he reverts back to his natural state. And I'm really mad about Hartenstein, guys, if you hadn't noticed. I get to trade this guy. I'm done with it.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Well, me, guy. I'm patient. I'm the patient one of the group. Like when there was overreactions about losing a few games, I'm like, let's calm down, let's wait. And I stood by Julius in his dark times, and even when people say shit about RJ, I'm like, I get frustrated by RJ a lot. Especially when he's getting like blocked at the rim, but I know he's still developing. It's about being patient. But this guy, I don't know, man, just gets under my skin. He's not doesn't seem like a winning player as much as maybe the hopes are too high, I guess, is the point.
You mentioned frustrating things, and you mentioned RJ. The most fucking frustrated thing he does, he shoots the ball in the corner and just stands there.
Oh, with the hand up. Yeah,
like, grab the fucking rebound, dude.
Yeah, what game was that? The Washington game? I think it was a ball.
No, I think it was the Pacers.
It was the Pacers. Okay, the ball was
Pacers,
carrying back to him.
Well, he does
still had the hand up.
Dude, I was like, come the fuck on, dude. The
like, I get the
there,
follow through, but don't hold it, man.
When you're playing 2K and you get stuck in the animation, that's it. You get stuck in the animation.
RJ's stuck in the real life animation. There you go.
But the thing that bothers me at the moment is that I see a lot of chat about, Hartenstein's not being played correctly, and he's not been put in the position to succeed. You're like, no, these are basic basketball skill mistakes that he's making. You're like, come on.
Like, this isn't putting in a bad. It's not like he should be shooting more corner threes, and no one's saying that. Like, he commits stupid fouls. He can't handle. He's looking like Nerlens Noel at times handling the ball. It's so bad. And it's like whenever Mitch goes out, I get worrisome because I'm just like, all right, well, we're fucked now because Mitch is out of the game, which is also a testament to how good he's been this year, in addition to an indictment of Hartenstein. But I'm getting fired up. Let's switch.
I can't believe people aren't screaming for Jericho Sims minutes more, by the way, because of how poor Hartenstein has been
in his limited.
Why not at this stage? He's giving you nothing. You might as well.
Right. But let's get into our last topic of the day this week. So this is kind of a fun conversation. We all like and remember and have fond thoughts of Carmelo Anthony. Nick legend Carmelo Anthony, who is currently still without a team. So we gotta started to wonder, what would this team look like if we had a closer to his prime Carmelo Anthony on the roster? So Alex, I'll throw that over to you. Well, what do you think this team would look like?
Well, I was saying to you earlier, I kind of misunderstood the question at first. I thought maybe you were hinting at the fact of, playing him at the 3, Randle at the 4, RJ at the 2, Brunson at the 1, that's, and Mitch at the 5, if rather than maybe playing him at the 4 instead of Julius. But yeah,
We
that
could
would
go
be an
both ways,
interesting
right?
lineup. Yeah, I mean, it's you would certainly, if it's towards his prime, as you said, rather than what he is now, then yeah, I mean, he'd be a welcome addition to kind of what we're missing at the moment. I think certainly from him, RJ, and Brunson would be a really interesting fit. I think you'd again have to see, could we adapt Randall's game again even a bit further, make him more. Randall's been, so good rebounding recently. You could make him a more kind of focused on his defensive game. I mean, it's, you are thinking, usage wise, there's gonna be a bit of a logjam there. But yeah, it was an interesting one. I wasn't quite sure how to think about it, but yeah, I would, if anything, play him at the 3 certainly.
Yep.
In that situation.
Just Carmelo Anthony,
How many rings, Rafa? How many rings? There you go.
the Garden, playing with a decent point guard. Not decent, a fucking amazing point guard in Jalen Brunson. That's that's it. We would finally give Carmelo a point guard and a wing. Oh, well, I can say, but he had the wing with J.R. Smith, but R.J. Barrett has a little bit more the temper than R.J. Smith. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can say it. I mean, how many rings? I mean, I don't even want to say not 1, not 2, not 3. No. But we would certainly be a contender every year with
Yeah.
Prime Mello. I mean, Mello carried us, that team, to our team to conference finals and a conference final and
There you go.
playoffs and everything. So and especially with the Nuggets, he was doing amazingly as well. So I mean, I can't even. We talked about this. I knew we were going to talk about this on the pod, and I still can't put it into words how magical that would be.
I think
Oh my god.
that if in this fantasy land, the Knicks win at least one title with that, with as currently constituted, if you add even like a slightly past his prime Mello, like later in his
2013
career.
Mello.
Yeah, yeah. And imagine the small ball lineup though, where you throw Randle at the 5. We would have to be a different coach, obviously, because Tibbs would never do that. But if you throw Randle at the 5 with Mello at the 4, RJ at the 3, Grimes at the 2, and Brunson at the 1. I don't know. I just feel like that's deadly offensively.
I think you guys are getting
Defensively as well.
slightly overexcited.
Look,
This
man,
prospect.
we don't have a lot to fantasize about in Knicks land, Alex, and because like
Multiple
the
titles.
real thing though is the point guard question, right? Because the best
Yeah.
point guard we ever gave him was Raymond Felton, really, and Jalen Brunson is a much better point guard than Raymond Felton, so. That alone, even discounting anything else, even if you just say, yeah, he'd be replacing Julius, what would that be like, right? It just is a
Couldn't
market improvement.
couldn't Julius be a way better version than Amari Stoudemire in his time with the Knicks?
Certainly a more healthy version.
Well, a version of
Yeah,
him.
I mean, you
So
have
yeah,
two
the
guys
two.
in Mello and Julius who will be able to create. Obviously, Brunson and RJ can also create. So that in and of itself becomes a very interesting
Yeah,
thing, right?
bring Derek Fisher to put the triangle, man.
Fucking triangle.
Bring Phil Jackson.
All right.
That would work.
I guess the moral of the story is retire number 7 at the Garden. Let's
Could he
let's
be the answer to the bench problem? Now that we mentioned, okay,
you mean currently at like current 38-year-old
yeah,
Melo?
yeah,
Yeah,
knocking
I
some
mean,
shots. It's still
yeah,
mellow.
he could still I think we made this
I'm
point
just
before.
dreaming. Sorry.
Yeah, we made this point before, which is will there be pressure for Melo to be Melo, you know, and maybe be more of a distraction than a help. That's always the problem. I would love it personally. Just I like those going away tours. They're fun, you know. I enjoyed the one with Kobe, and it was kind of his last year. Everybody knew it was his last year type thing. I don't know. I just think it'd be cool. Melo, I think Melo will be remembered mostly as a Knick, even though he had a lot of success in Denver. Yeah, I personally would love to see it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. It doesn't
I,
seem the front
wo-
office wants to do
I
that.
wonder if the situation, if it starts to look like playoffs are more of a certainty, whether that's when they make a move like that. Just to bring a guy that can just
Yeah.
get
Or
that
if they whiff
playoff
at the
experience.
deadline, right? Like if
Yeah,
they whiff at the deadline, maybe they say, well, we need some scoring,
yeah,
and let's throw this guy in and
experience.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
Melo looking for a final tour with the Knicks, or is he trying for a final tour for a championship?
All I'm
That's
saying is he
the
has
thing, right?
had comments about his time with the Knicks in interviews recently, and he has had basically nothing bad to say, unless it's like about Phil Jackson, which is a whole other subject.
My guy.
But yeah, there you go.
Do you
But so
think?
I don't know. Stuff to
Do you
say.
think he would sign with if he had no other offers? Do you think he'd sign in Brooklyn?
Ooh, probably. You know,
Win the title? Yes.
yeah. I think I think deep down he does want a ring,
Yeah.
and I think if nobody but the Knicks are offering, he'd be like, "Well, I still feel like I can contribute on an NBA level." But he wants a ring. I mean, everybody knows that's all that's missing
What,
from his resume.
what if they play the "We're Coming Home" video as he runs out of Barclays, gets a title
Mm.
in his final season? How would that
No, he
make you?
gets a title in that season and says, "I did it, New York. I won a title."
I think Melo
Yes.
has a little bit more situational awareness and all that than to say something like that, to be honest. But
Obviously,
who knows?
obviously.
But
Yeah,
let's
good
get
talk.
Thank you,
into
Alex. I will have nightmares
Sorry.
now. Thank you.
Yeah.
well, what number is he wearing? Is he wearing that 00? Because he obviously he's not wearing 7 because it's KD's number.
77.
Oh, there you go. The best number. All right, so let's get into some game picks this week. So 3 games coming up. At home against Washington on Wednesday, on the road against Atlanta, the free falling Atlanta Hawks at on Friday, and then on Sunday back in Toronto for another matchup with the Raptors. It feels like we've had a lot of those where playing that same team 3 times in like a couple weeks span. We had it with the Bulls a few weeks back. So all right, Alex, start with you. What do you think the record's going to be this week?
Well, just to say the Hawks beat the Heat tonight, so they
The
might
Heat
not
are
be quite in free fall, but
streaky as well.
it sounds like another 3 close games.
Yeah.
To be honest, Porzingis had another big night as well. So yeah, I'll push on and say 2-1. I think they're going to come back fighting from tonight's loss and give them an extra bit of energy, try to put that right against Toronto. And maybe pick up one of the other 2, maybe probably Washington. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 then.
Yeah, same for me. I'm looking at those games and I'm not seeing us win at Atlanta and at Toronto. Toronto is always a problem. Yeah, and the Hawks are, well, they see us as a rival team and they will try to kick our ass, try to, hey, we're here. So it's those 2 especially will be toughies. With the loss will come from one of those.
Yeah, I'm gonna mirror what you guys are saying. I'm gonna say 2-1. Washington feels like a winnable game, with the injuries that they have. And I don't know, I never trust it in Toronto. We have so much trouble there.
That's
Yeah,
it.
we won recently there, but we always seem to struggle there. And considering how we played them today, there's they definitely give us our money's worth. That's for sure. So I'm gonna say 2-1 with probably dropping one at Toronto next Sunday.
Okay,
Your
Capella
point we were
and
talking about.
Bogdanovic back for Atlanta.
Okay.
So they've tidied up some of their injury worries.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that the games close up, bunched together, the 3 games, the games feel more playoffy. I'm like you see the teams. For example, you're seeing the Toronto team this week, and you will still have that loss from today really, really fresh. So that can come into the heads of the players as well. So it
Yeah.
makes it a little interesting, interest dynamic in the course of the regular season as well. It makes it more of a storytelling thing. I like it.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the logjam in the East, right? A lot of teams still feel like they're alive for the play-in. A lot of teams are, trying to win some games here. I'm kind of surprised more teams haven't just said, "F it, we're in the tank now." Really, the only teams who are really in that mode are Detroit, Houston. Is in that mode.
OKC aren't far off the play-in. Did
They're
you
in
know
the play-in spot now.
that?
Yeah, they're like
Yeah,
right
are
there,
they
right
now?
by
Yeah.
10th. SGA is kind of
I
playing
mean,
well, and had they're winning some games. They beat Brooklyn the other night, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
yeah.
And
Maybe the play-ins help against that. Having the
yeah, I think
play-ins
that was
because
the
it's a
idea, right?
yeah.
It was kind of like you get, you still have a chance to get into the playoffs, and ultimately, if you have, veteran players, and by veteran I mean 3+ or 4+ years in the league, they don't want to keep on losing. SGA doesn't want to keep on losing. I'm sure Josh Giddey doesn't want to keep on losing, so they're trying to win games. Really, like I said, Houston and Detroit are the one, and Charlotte are the ones that really stick out as kind of in the tank right now. But everybody else feels like they're still trying to win games. So San Antonio is another one. They're kind of free fall, don't even care, trying to get Wembanyama as well. So but that is going to do it this week for Worldwide Knicks. If you enjoy the podcast, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or subscribe on YouTube so you catch the video versions of this podcast. We're also on Twitter at WW Knicks Podcast, closing in on 1,500 followers. So we got a lot of game analysis, live game reactions, and things of that nature. So make sure to give us a follow if you are on Twitter. But on behalf of Rafa and Alex, this is Omar, Worldwide Knicks, signing out. We'll catch you guys next week.